Hello, friends. Welcome back. Last minute picks, late picks from the UFC Smoky Hours Fight Companion angle setup back in the lair. Should be good fights today. Tune in to the Smoky Hours Fight Companion in a couple of hours. It is 1:49 as I started recording it. Very late. Had a busy week. Lots of pool, lots of class, lots of other stuff. In fact, pool doesn't end though. Busy weekend. At the end of the busy week tomorrow, I will be playing in a pool tournament. I'm going to try to record it, make a little video out of it, so good luck to me. We'll see that. That'll be the intro. UFC Fight Night. Royval versus Kavanaugh. Should be pretty decent. Maybe not the biggest names on the card, but should be some good fights. We're going to kind of do these picks live. I'm going to try to keep it quick, too, as I got to run some errands before the fights. But starting off with the opener of Wes Schultz versus Damian Pinas. Man from Aruba. I barely remember seeing Damian Pinas' finish on the Contender Series, as well as Wes Schultz. Wes Schultz, I remember watching him get finished by Mansour Abdul Malik. Man seems to have turned it around a little bit. Got 2 submissions in his 2 fights after that. Fairly active as well. Not a big size difference between these fighters. Tapology got Pinas, so I'm actually going to go with him as well. I'm going to go with him as well. This is more of a vibey one. This is actually probably the most blind pick of them. I don't know if Pinas will get the finish, though. Everyone seems to think that he'll finish him. I just don't. That's just a vibe. Complete vibe. Complete vibe. From an illegal kick, so man might have been fucking him up really bad. And then 4 finishes since then. Maybe it'll be 5. Couple wins in LFA against people with some fights. We'll go with Damian Pinas. And I don't know, everyone's high on the KO TKO, but I'm just feeling decision. So maybe the decision will be wrong. This one I literally picked, and then I was like, wait, what am I doing? Like, let me record. But I'm going with Francis Fire Marshall here versus Eric Silva. Eric Silva, 2 years ago he fought Mohamed Namov. I really don't remember that fight. I do remember Francis Marshall, though. Francis Marshall been a little bit more active than that, actually. And his last fight versus Marion Santos was pretty good. Francis Fire Marshall is a pretty decent, well-rounded fighter. I think maybe better than his record, than his UFC record would entail. Most of the site is picking Francis Marshall, with the majority of it going by decision. I agree with that. I am going to go with decision for this man, Francis Marshall. That should be a pretty good one, though. Moving on. Ernesta Karakech versus Regina Tarin. I believe Regina Tarin has stepped up on short notice to take this fight. 7-0, undefeated prospect, you could say. 21 years old, very young. Ernesta. See, this win actually aged well then. She beat Carly Judice, Ernesta Karakech, on the Contender Series. Granted, that was a minute ago. The witch Dione Barbosa is actually really deceptively good, kind of slept on. Nicole Cagliari, I really don't remember, though, so that kind of scares me. The thing is, I haven't really... What is on Tarin? I think I might go with Ernesta, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go with the Lithuanian. I'm going to go for the chick that was training for a fight already in the UFC. Regina, unfortunately, I'm just not too informed on. Could have watched 5 minutes of highlights before recording this, but straight vibes for this one. Sometimes we got to do it last minute. And I doubt someone finished, so I'm going to do decision. All right. Javier Reyes. I think we actually watched this fight live on possibly the only Smoky Hours Dana White Contender Series match, or stream, excuse me. That's lost to Miles Johns, beat Cody Stamen before that, lost to Saeed. With some wins before that. I think I'm going to go with Reyes just for activity here. Javier Reyes, I don't know why he's so familiar. I feel like we saw him too. Going with the KO because man's a little bit on the older side. Decent reach advantage. 32 is young. So we'll take that. We'll see if it gets done in 1. Christian Quinones versus Chris Matinho. Now, Chris Matinho, this might have just been because man faced Malcolm Wellmaker, who is very powerful. I don't know if Chris Moutinho's chin is still intact. I think his chin is cracked, honestly, because last time I was expecting Malcolm Wellmaker to win, actually, but by decision. I thought that Chris Moutinho would be able to take the power. Man got violated, knocked out really fucking bad, and I think we've seen it happen with other fighters. But after a fight like the Sean O'Malley fight, Sean O'Malley versus Chris Moutinho, that shit will probably change you as a fighter and as a person. Just the amount of damage that you can take in one sitting. In one sitting. 2 years ago, I lost to Raoni Barcelo, still wasn't asked. So, Kyung Ho Kang, we can take that. And a win over Long Zhao is actually okay, even though it was fucking 4 years ago. Really? Chris Moutinho, actually, I don't know, I'm scared to say this, actually. Chris Moutinho might even be the better fighter in this one. If Chris Moutinho's chin holds up, I might look like a fool, but I'm going to go with Christian Quinones. That's the thing. And if I'm really doubting the chin, right? If I'm really doubting it, I'm going to say around 3. Late KO, TKO. This one is a little bit more interesting to me. Macy Chiasson versus Eileen Perez. Now, I'm scared because Macy Chiasson has kind of fought like shit recently. But I feel like if I pick Eileen Perez, she won't get a takedown, and she'll get stuck on her feet and picked apart at range. But the Tapology seems to think the opposite. Will Macy Chiasson bounce back? The Yana Santos shit was spooky. Everyone should beat Mayra Bueno Silva on the roster. And that shit was a minute ago, actually. So, you know what? Fuck it. We will go with Eileen Perez by decision. Ryan Gandro versus Jose Medina. Jose Medina is a dude that was called... He lost on the Contender Series, and then he was called back up on short notice to face Zachary Reese. Actually gave him a little bit of action, though. You know, shit went the distance. Atiba Gautier, they fed him to Atiba. That's whatever. And then they gave Dusko a good fight. That was a good little scrap between them. And a good bounce back for Dusko Todorovic, who had a little bit of a skid in his career. Ryan Gandra is making his UFC debut. A little bit younger. Less damage, less mileage on him. Not as experienced. But I am going to go with the KO TKO in round 1 because, and again, this really is no disrespect to Jose Medina, but I just don't think that Jose Medina is a UFC caliber fighter in the same regard. And we don't know if Ryan Gandra is on this. To be fair, we don't know if Ryan Gandra is. And Jose Medina, even though all 3 fights have ended in, all 3 of his UFC appearances have ended in a loss for him, man has picked up some seasoning, I think, from that. So I might be wrong on this one. Low-key, if anything, we're possibly rooting for Jose Medina, but gonna pick Ryan Gandra. I actually am rooting for Jose Medina. Fuck it, but I'm picking Ryan Gandra. Santiago Luna versus Angel Pacheco. On hell, maybe. Man got smoked by Calvin Loughran. And Danny Silva, but was picking up some wins beforehand against some opponents. I don't know what to say. And a little bit further south, this man Santiago Luna was racking up some wins. Quang Bang Lee, that shit was good actually. Yeah. I remember that. Decent little reach advantage. We'll go with the man's coming off of the KO TKO now. Colin Loughran isn't really a crazy finishing threat. I don't know if Santiago Luna gets a KO TKO in the first, but we'll say the second. We will say the second. Moving on. Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Kevin Borjas. Man made a crazy performance on the Contender Series and then now is looking to make his UFC debut. Nice little turnaround. Kevin Borjas, one of these Peruvian men who I think is actually okay. Better than his record would state, man. Man won on Contender Series, has some nice sneaky spinning techniques. Lost some fights, smoked Lazy Boy. I knew that, called that. The loss to Sumit Darshi was kind of trash. And the loss to Joshua Van was kind of trash as well. Now, people really think that Imanol is going to violate Kevin Borjas. If I didn't see this fight, if the Sumit Darshi fight hadn't happened, I probably would back Kevin Borjas, honestly, probably emotionally, but I am going to have to go with Emmanuel Rodriguez. I don't know if he gets the finish over Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas can survive. I've seen him get cracked, but Alessandro Costa is just a little bit of a different fighter. Man, imagine if this is the fight where Borjas gets that spinning back kick KO. We'll see. But I am going to go with Emmanuel Rodriguez. I am going to go with decision, I think. I don't know if Borjas will get finished. Edgar Chavez versus Felipe Bunes. Felipe, I feel like, has had some ups and downs, actually. The Jose Johnson show was a little strange, but Jose Johnson's also kind of huge, if I remember correctly. Rafael Estevam is actually nice. Joshua Van champion. Huáscar Cruz. Lost to Tatsuro Taira. The Daniel Lacerda show, premature stoppage. Forgot about that. I ran it back. Win over CJ Vergara, kind of valid. That was a good valid win for Chikali. People are high on Chaidez, man. People are very high on Chaidez. It's funny because I actually think that Chaidez is gonna start hot, but if Chaidez gets caught, I don't know what happens. That's the thing. I also think these odds are a little bit off. I think this fight is closer than maybe people believe. Chaidez is gonna start hot. A loss to Rafael Estevam is not bad. It's not bad. And getting finished by the champ isn't bad either. Let's see. I'm gonna have to come back to that. I'm gonna have to let that one sit. Featured fight of the night: Daniel Zellhuber versus King Green, aka Bobby Green. I'm gonna have to go with Daniel Zellhuber here. King Green, of course, is one of the most unique fighters still fighting in the UFC. Just in terms of style, obviously, just visually, if you watch it, you can tell. But that's the thing about it. If it works, it tends to really work. People can't solve the problem of Bobby Green, and he'll either point him up. Maybe he gets a finish over them. It depends, and he'll make it look easy. Bobby's been touched, though. We've seen Bobby get put away bad, too. I think Daniel Zellhuber definitely could do it. Absolutely could do it. Coming off of 2 losses here to decent dudes. Esteban Ribovic, like I said, actually really good and has killer head kicks. Michael Johnson could win any fight on any given night. And I think Tapology kind of agrees with me. I do think that Daniel Zellhuber is going to get a KO TKO. Maybe not in the first round, but we'll say the second. Marlon Vera versus David Martinez. I believe this man, David Martinez, stopped, or I don't know if he retired or if he stopped fully, but man is a medical doctor, I think, and he then became a prize fighter. So we are going to go with David Martinez. We're going to go with David Martinez by KO TKO. Now, Marlon on a bad streak. This is the thing that's going to be different now. I think Martinez is going to finish. All right, maybe people don't agree with me. I think Martinez will get a finish. And you want the scariest thing? I could see it happening in round 1. This dude Martinez is so fast. He's very strong. I could see Cheeto kind of approaching this fight in a similar way. Like, he thinks, all right, like, we're going to duke it out at range, blah, 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 touch each other, trade combos and shit. And David Martinez really might land something sharp. And something that many people might not have expected to happen might happen, which is Marlon Vera going down in the first. This, I think, is actually probably the hardest fight to pick on the entire card. Brandon Moreno versus Lanier Kavanaugh. And it should be that way, actually. The main event should be the hardest fight to pick on any card. It should be the most competitive fight. Brandon Moreno, I feel like in his last one versus Tatsuro Taira, it's scary. You can look at it multiple ways. You can look at it as Tatsuro Taira, it's his time. He's on the rise, had a little setback, but he's bouncing back. He's coming back. You could also look at it as mileage, maybe the beginning of the decline for Brandon Moreno. And I know that's dramatic to say, it's strong to say, but that is what I mean. On the other hand, Lanier was having a great fight against Charles Johnson until Charles Johnson smoked him and sent him to hell. That shit was crazy. Had this man Charles Johnson the struggler. I've been telling y'all, play the Guts theme for Charles Johnson. That fucking man be struggling. Winning fights that really people write him off in. Big fan of Charles Johnson. Lanier Cavanaugh, though, is a dude that I think really is on the come up. He really is on the come up. He's good. He's good. I think maybe he just has a bit of the tweak in him, which is a problem. 5'4", also a little bit of a small lad, but 125 is not too bad. A lot of people picking Moreno here, but I think that maybe Cavanaugh. Maybe Cavanaugh could outstrike Brandon. Maybe Brandon can take him down. When Lanier looks good, he looks fucking great, man. That's the thing. But Brandon's a former champion, you know. It's beyond looking good and then looking great. Like, this is really, really tough. The experience between the two can't really be compared, as Brandon Moreno has been fighting in the UFC probably for the length of Lanier's professional fight career, and has already essentially reached the top of the sport by being a champion. Lanier looking to really still continue, though. And this win would be great for him. This win would be fantastic for Lanier. I just don't know what's going to happen in this one, man. I'm kind of thinking that Lanier might beat Brandon Moreno, but was the Tetsuro Taira just too... Am I being influenced by that too much? Do you think Tetsuro Taira smokes Lanier Cavanaugh in the same way? Now, trust, we all know, if you've followed MMA for any amount of time, you'll probably have heard MMA math doesn't work. Meaning, like, just because this guy beat this guy doesn't mean this guy will beat this guy, you know. That makes sense, obviously. Every fight is different. But, I don't know. Bro just got smoked by Tetsuro Taira, man. I think that's just what makes it so tough. Is bro just got smoked by Tetsuro Taira. That was recent too. That was 2 months ago. That was very recent. But the wins before that are good, man. The wins before that are good. We're going to go with Brandon Moreno one last time. I do think it will go the distance for this. One last time. 5-round fight. Brandon Moreno's been in that. Lanier, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem for him. But there's one more that we got to do, right? All right, let's finish this one up. Felipe, man. I want to pick Felipe so bad. My gut is kind of telling me to pick Felipe. But I think that Edgar Chairez will start the fight intense, high pace, keep it there, maybe even get the finish. So we're going to go with Edgar Chairez. By decision, though. By decision. Keep it respectable. And we'll save those picks. Save those Tapology picks. Whoa. 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 See what this man D1D 4K10 has to say. And got Pinas by second round KO TKO. Marshall by the sub. That's actually not that bad. You got Tadine, Reyes, Quinones, Perez, Andra, Luna, Rodriguez, Chairez, El Huber, Martinez, and Moreno. So we actually have similar picks on that shit. I fuck with Tapology heavy. You should make a Tapology account if you haven't already. Just a great little MMA forum. It's been that, you know. It's always good to see the regulars typing in it. Occasionally I'll type a comment, post something. I also like seeing some of the tweakers. There's some regular tweakers on this platform, but those are the picks. 18 minutes, so not that short, but get them out there. I will see you in a few hours for the Smoky Hours Fight Companion. You can just check this channel. I will be live when the fights start, probably 5 minutes before the fights start. As always, thanks for watching. Much love. Big kiss.